I've been asking the question now for a long time on KTAR.com. What's it like? What's it like to be? What's it like to do? And I finally get a chance to ask somebody like Danny Zelisko. Danny Zelisko presents. What's it like being a buddy of Paul McCartney?
You'd have to ask one of his buddies.
Now, come on, you're more than a promoter with the show. Don't give me that humble stuff, Danny.
We don't call each other on the phone or anything like that.
But if you did, he would answer the phone. You have his phone number.
If I don't have his number, but I have his manager's number. If as close as somebody can be, like a lay person, as close as somebody can be close to Paul. Here's my favorite one, and this is great. The last time he came into town, we did a show at Glendale Arena, jobbing.
And you booked him.
And I booked him. And I've had him here on several dates since 1990. And there's stories for every one of those shows. But the last one, we had to do a rehearsal the day before at U.S. Airways Center because there was a hockey game the night before at Glendale, and the night after the rehearsal at U.S. Airways Center, there was a wrestling event. So both places weren't available 2 days in a row. And Paul had to have a rehearsal before he did the show the next day at Glendale. So they set everything up at U.S. Airways Center for nobody, just for Paul and the band to come in and do 6 songs. Cost them hundreds of thousands of dollars to literally load in the show and do everything for Paul and no audience, right, except for me and a couple people that worked on the show. So my wife goes and picks up her Aunt Faye from the airport right around the time Paul's starting to play. She's never been on a plane before. She's from Iowa. I'm not making this up. She drives Aunt Faye into the arena, and they're out in front. We're standing on the floor, and there's Paul McCartney playing his songs, and he's phenomenal. It's Paul McCartney. It's us. It's a private show. Afterwards, Paul goes backstage for 2 minutes. They've set up his dressing room, all the catering, everything. And he walked through it. He goes, very nice. Came out the side of the stage, and I'm standing there with Aunt Faye and my wife. And Paul comes over and he goes, so who's this then? And he takes Aunt Faye by the shoulder on cue and walks her around the arena floor, asking her every question you can possibly ask somebody, and delivers her back. She goes, I approve. Aunt Faye's a keeper. And then he goes, and tell me something. How come we can't play here tomorrow night? And the other people who arranged this stuff with me for the tour ran for cover. Because, he's asking stuff that he already knows about, but he wants to hear it from me. I go, it's true. There's a wrestling thing in here tomorrow, so we can't be in here. And there's a hockey game over at the other place. And he goes, fair enough. And that was that. But anyway, it's nice to have that type of company. There's no question about it.
Okay, because of the fact that as a promoter, you're the guy who arranges everything, right? When they get here, all of those things, if you don't specifically personally arrange it, you have somebody who does. Give me the first, in fact, I wrote a couple of names down. Give me the first reaction you have. Even if you've never booked them, give me your reaction to the name Justin Timberlake.
Great talent. Did him with it in sync. Very nice guy. You knew he was going to be amazing even then.
First reaction to the group Kiss.
Love Kiss. Paul Stanley's a really good friend. I see him fairly often. He goes to Hawaii a lot, and we see each other there. Paul's probably around 60-ish, but he's still wearing makeup, so it's very difficult to tell.
But still doing rock and roll. The Stones.
Stones are great. Love the Stones.
They were 70s.
Yeah, well, but think about it. When I was a kid, my grandparents were in their 60s. They were like in their 90s compared to the way people are now. Mick Jagger and the Stones, they grew up in the 60s, 50s, and the 60s. So they grew up in a very young time period, and their livelihood depends on them appearing to be as youthful as ever and staying in shape. And that's why they appear to be who they always were, only they're older. I think they're a great inspiration.
Well, we could do this though for hours, because you're never going to run out of personalities or artists. But we do have to ask about one more. One that you're bringing in. Cher.
Love Cher. Well, isn't that great? Cher's manager, who I think is a very interesting guy, I met him years ago when Olivia Newton-John was huge, and he was her manager, and they're both from Australia. Since then, he's gone on to manage Joe Cocker, Sade, Janet Jackson, Pink, and he also Cher. And I know I'm leaving out somebody
But
else.
he's doing well.
He's doing as great as can be, but he is the Svengali for the giant pop iconic type stars like Pink or Cher. And I was through Janet and all that. So it was like always a pleasure to work with this guy. Tina Turner, that's who I left out. Great Tina Turner story real quick. He brings me into the dressing room. Tina, guess who's here? It's Danny. And she comes walking out, and she's pulling her pantyhose up, and her dress is up here, and I lost it. And she goes, "You've already seen this stuff before." I go, "Not that stuff." Anyway, true story.
Quick response to Cher.
What a wonderful lady. I love Cher. Cher was going with my friend Richie Sambora for a while from Bon Jovi. And the first time I really made any connection with her was at Bon Jovi's wedding party. And we had some really great off-color remarks together about Richie. And she's great.
And works hard and changes costumes and
She
gives
is
the audience everything.
Consummate professional. She'll rehearse and rehearse and rehearse like the great ones do, like Sinatra or anybody who will come out there and entertain the way they do.
She's one of my
And that's what-
absolute favorite ladies. You know who I like better than Cher,
Every
though?
ticket is sold to that
You know
show.
who I like
can't
better
buy
than
a
Cher?
ticket.
I know she's sold out, but there's only one other woman that I can think of offhand that I would pay to see beyond Cher, and that's Aunt Faye.
Aunt Faye, you want to meet Aunt Faye?
Absolutely. No, that's a star to me.
I can arrange an evening with Aunt Faye for you, live.
Listen, you want to meet the stars, you got to go. Danny Zelisko presents everybody. This is KTAR.com. What's it like?